I just refinanced my house and got over $200,000 cash back tax-free. Now that's only because in the last 3 years of living here, my house has gone up so much in value. So in this video, I wanna talk about what the numbers look like currently, what are some of the renovations we did to increase the value so much, and I'm also gonna reveal what I'm gonna actually do with this house because it's looking like I'm gonna move out. Let's go see. All right, so the house is a little bit messy because my son just had his 3-year-old birthday party. And let me tell you, it was probably the craziest 3-year-old party you've ever seen. It was a blast. He had an actual carnival in the backyard, which I'll show you here later. But as far as the house goes, I bought this house on the MLS about 3 years ago. And I actually bought it directly from a builder, which is odd because as somebody who fix and flips homes, the last thing you're gonna go do is buy a new build from a builder because you're typically paying top dollar. But I saw it as an opportunity looking at all of the other houses around that it was a better deal than just renovating a house. Case in point, I paid $600,000 for this home. It's over 3,000 square feet, it's on half an acre, and it was brand new. Along with that, I also got a 5% commission credit on the deal. It was one of the last deals I ever did when I was a realtor, and so it really made the house about $570,000 bucks. Now, all of the other similar houses in the neighborhood, at least square footage wise, we're all going for around $600,000 as well. So I said, why would I pay $600,000 for a fixer-upper when I can get a brand new house and customize it the exact way I want? At the time, the backyard was completely raw, so everything you see in the backyard, which I'll show you, is stuff that we designed from scratch. Now, as far as the interior goes, almost all of it was done by the time we put the house under contract. The only real thing we got to pick was the flooring. So they already had the walls painted, they already had all of these cabinets, they actually had a different countertop on this, and you know, we ended up getting to pick the flooring, which was nice. It was around a $30,000 upgrade. Now, because everything was already in the house, we really wanted to minimize the budget and only change the things that bothered us. So we added some simple things like putting these handles on. We also got this backsplash and put it all the way to the ceiling. I would guess this backsplash alone cost us around $5,000, but it adds a much more luxurious feel to the kitchen. We also added this black stainless steel appliance package. Between this fridge, the oven, the range, and the hood, and the dishwasher, I'd guess we spent probably around $10,000 just on this appliance package. Before, it was a granite counter that was really busy. It had so many different things going on with it. My wife likes that nice, clean look, and so we got white quartz here. Now, the thing is, when you're buying countertops, they can range tremendously. You could go get your entry-level countertop and it might be a couple of $1,000s to do this kitchen, or you could go get high-end marble and it costs you $100,000 to do this kitchen. Now, at the time we were doing this house, we figured that we don't need some high-end stuff, but we definitely don't want the cheapest thing. So we kind of compromised in the middle and we got this white quartz. Now, this white quartz throughout this entire kitchen cost me about $6,000. One thing that we added that was extra was getting these thick edges for the countertops. So the way that they make these thick edges is a little different than what you might think. People looking at it think that the quartz is this thick all the way across, but that's not actually what they do. The quartz is probably this thick, and they add plywood underneath it to make it all level. And then they build the face right here to match the plywood and the quartz, and it gives it this illusion that it's way bigger than it really is. Another thing we did that's not really part of the house was add things like the shelving. These light fixtures were really nice. I think this one came from West Elm. It's probably like $1,000. We got these light fixtures over here. I think they're from Northern Lighting, about $200-300 bucks a piece. And that was pretty much the main stuff we did on this side of the house. Now, right here was a big change that I wanted to make initially. Before, there was nothing here. It was just a wall, and the wall had nothing. It was pretty much like if you want to put a TV console, then you have space to do that so it doesn't stick out. But I looked at it and said, well, every luxury house that I know usually has some really grand fireplace feature for its living room. So we built out this fireplace, and what's funny is we actually screwed it up initially. You can't really tell anymore because they fixed the patch job, but I originally had it coming out to here. I wanted it to be flush with this wall, but we soon realized that it was kind of too close to the couch. And so after framing it, I made them redo it. I said, dude, I know I told you to do this, but I screwed up. Let's push it back 1 foot so that we can line it up with these cabinets right here. And I think that turned out to be far better because now we have all this room for shelving, we've got the cabinets. As you can see, my kid got a bunch of gifts from a birthday party, and somebody, I don't know who did this, gave him a Dave Ramsey book as something. I don't know. If this was you, you better fess up to who did this joke because you know how we feel about Dave Ramsey around here. We also added this lighting above here to kind of give it that showroom feel. You know, in hindsight, I actually did that wrong. What should have happened was the lighting should have been right here to highlight all the stuffs on the shelves. So we'd never really have those on because I made a mistake. Also, we added the speakers up there. We'd really never use them at all. So would I do that again? I guess on a multi-million-dollar home, you kind of have to, but we don't really use it. I think if we had a better smart home technology, we would for sure use it, but it's just too much of a hassle to go find the remote for the speaker, find the one for the TV. I'm just not about that. The other major change was right here. So this was a big empty space, and we decided to make it a theater. Now you're probably looking at it and you're like, this is not a theater. This is a kid's room. Well, yeah, when I first made this a theater, I didn't have kids. Now I do. And so we use it still as a theater somewhat, but it's funny because after living in a house for a while, you start to realize what you use and what you don't use. And we used to have 4 recliner chairs right on the back of that second tier. Then we had this couch right here, and we were like, yeah, we're gonna watch all these movies, all our friends are gonna hang out, and it's gonna be super cool. And we just literally never use it. We only watch TV in the living room. And so the theater is cool in concept, but it's been a pretty big bust. And so once we had kids, we decided that we were just gonna make this the playroom because they didn't really have one outside of their own rooms. And so it actually gets used a good amount because of the kids. As far as the cost to do this theater, it wasn't that bad. All of this brick you see here is really cheap at Home Depot. It's just like this plywood board. Doesn't cost a lot, and we put it across the whole wall to give it that cool feel, and then we just spray painted it black and it was done. Like, it's not very expensive at all and it looks really good. That screen cost like 200 bucks at Amazon. We had some speaker systems that was probably a couple $1,000, and then, you know, it's just furniture. And then that projector was another 500 bucks. So all in all, to put a theater in your house, you could do it for less than a few $1,000s and it would look really tight. Honestly, the most expensive thing in here, I just noticed this, is this giant barn door. This barn door is so big, when you actually look at it in person, check this out. Like, look how big this door is compared to me. It's huge. And my buddy Nate did this for me. He's done many of my furniture pieces. And the barn door, I don't even remember what it costs, at least a few $1,000s, but that was the most expensive thing in here. And it's probably the coolest. All right, so this is where the majority of the money was spent. Probably around $120,000 was spent in the backyard. So let me show you piece by piece what all the money was spent on. So first off, this gate was not here until I had kids. We still have the replica from James's Carnival. This area, okay? I thought that initially I'd be using this all the time. I'm like, I'm gonna hang out here, the weather's nice. Like right now, it's a perfect day. I'm gonna hang out here, watch TV, just do stuff, and it's gonna be great. This whole thing cost me about $25,000 to create. I have not got $25,000 in value from it because I just don't ever go out here. This place never gets used. I used to cook my food there. I will take this back. The most times I ever use this, we're on this hibachi grill. So I would cook tacos and meat and all this other stuff on the hibachi. And then I realized cooking just wasn't a good use of my time, so I stopped cooking. But I don't know, I think this covered area is super cool in concept, and I think it brings a lot of value to the resale. But as far as like me using it, it just has not got used. Another big problem is if you're ever gonna do something like an outdoor TV, make sure the glare is not an issue. Because one of the reasons I don't use it is the glare is so bad. I literally cannot watch it during the day. And I tried buying this screen, which you could see up here, and I added it, it literally does nothing. So if you're gonna get an outdoor TV, be aware of the glare. Problem is the sun goes directly into it. Had I did the TV maybe this way, it would have been okay. So hope that saves you guys some money if you're thinking about this. Now, as far as everything else goes, we bought this table back when we bought the house new. As you can see, it's pretty old now. Probably needs a replacing, but the reality is, once again, we just don't really use it. So we haven't replaced it because we don't use it. Now, one thing I do use is the pool and jacuzzi. I love swimming. Like, I've gotten complete money's worth just on this alone. Now, this kind of pool today would probably cost you around, I would guess, $100,000. Between all of this travertine is not cheap. This is expensive stone. And just with how big this pool is, how big the jacuzzi is, you'd easily spend 100 grand. I think 3 years ago when I did it, this accounted for around $70,000 of the budget. So I got a good deal on the pool, and you know, the US wasn't printing money like they are today, so prices weren't going so crazy. The pool I'm building now at this potential home that I'm gonna move into, talk about that here in a sec, is gonna cost me around $90,000, and it's not this size. So you see prices going up. Now, as we go over here, a lot of this is still set up from James's party, but usually we have the lounge chairs over there. We got this big grass area made. We fenced it off for the kids so that the dogs don't go in there and, you know, use it as their potty. So now the kids can go play in there and the dogs can go figure out what to do with the rest of the backyard. But, you know, this used to be my basketball court. I would come out here and shoot hoops and have fun. But now, kind of like my movie theater, it has turned into the kids zone. And so a lot of this is from the party that we had already set up. So, you know, everybody was hanging out here, it was good. But, you know, point I'm making with all this is that kids kind of change your life and your perspective on what you need in your home. When I bought this, I had no kids. Now I have kids, and I notice all of the things that, you know, I would do differently had I known I had kids. And they love this area, it's great. But one thing I'll say is, I don't like that this is on the side of the house. So looking from our living room, you look directly into the pool, and that's what you see. This is all the way on the corner. And what happens is, my kids like to go outside of the doggy door, run away, and then come out here, and then I don't know where they're at, because I can't see them, and then they're playing and they're having fun. But my daughter, she's 1.5, and she's a lunatic. She climbs up this thing and just is running around, goes and slides by herself, and I'm like, we gotta figure out how to get something so we can watch these kids when they run away. Speaking of my daughter and crazy parties, she also had a ridiculous party back here. We called it Ocella, and it was probably the craziest 1-year-old party too. So I love having a big backyard. I will never ever buy a house with a small backyard because I value all of this stuff, and even seeing it now with kids, I realize how important it is. But having visibility from the main house and just like the slider is really important. So think about that next time you buy a house if you have kids. But as far as what all this costs, is the green or the grass, the basketball court, everything else, I would say this portion probably was like $30,000. And that brings our total spend to about $120,000, $130,000 just in the backyard. And then on inside of the house, we probably spent another $20,000, $30,000. So we're all into about $150,000 worth of renovations on this house. So as it stands, I paid $600,000 for the home. I got a 5% commission credit, so that puts it at really $570,000 as what I paid. And I put about $150,000 into it. So I'm all into this house for $720,000. Now, a little over 3 years later, I refinanced this house and it got appraised for $1.2 million. So in just 3 years of living here, I've gained almost $500,000 in equity. Now, refinancing it has so many benefits for me. For one, I'm getting $200,000 back tax-free. For those of you who don't know, refinance proceeds cannot be taxed because you're not really doing anything. You're not selling the house, you're not having this capital gains. So by refining and not selling, I get to keep all this money tax-free. The second thing is, because interest rates are so low right now, my payment's not increasing that much. My original payment was around $3,600. I refinanced it initially when I bought it and put all of these things in. At the time, they valued it at like $750. But now, with rates so low, I got a 3.25% interest rate, and my payment on this house is about $4,700. Essentially, it's $1,000 more a month, but now I have $200,000 to go play with and invest into other things like NFTs. But in all seriousness, a common question people have been asking me is what I'm gonna do with this house when I eventually leave. You know, we're building that house on the mountain. I can't wait to show you what the renderings are gonna look like, but that's gonna take time. With what we're planning now, I'm not expecting to move there for at least 4 years. Okay, because it's just gotten completely out of control and I really like it, but it's gonna take some time. So the second thing is, we just bought a flip in Southern Highlands that I've been thinking about moving into. And it has so many other things that this house doesn't have, like the backyard, straight out, like I was talking about. It's double the size, so if we have more kids, we get a lot more space. And I just got a country club membership in Southern Highlands, so for me to be able to go play golf and then just drive my golf cart back home is starting to make a lot of sense. So if I had to guess, there's like a 90% chance I'm probably gonna go move into that house now because of all these things lining up the way they are. And with this refinance, it makes doing that much easier because now I can still tap into the cash, I can still keep this, and as a rental, this is gonna do really well. I have no doubt as just a normal rental, it would get probably $6,000, $7,000 a month with no furniture. But I'm gonna just keep all the furniture in it. It's not like I'm gonna take all this stuff to the new house. We're gonna get everything decked out and brand new. And so I could keep all the furniture here, keep it as either a Airbnb if they change the laws. You can do that on Airbnb just with a 30-day rent or more, or you could do it to corporations or other things. There's a lot of stuff that people do long-term furnished rentals for, but at that market, I think this gets anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 a month. So if my mortgage is only $4,700, I get the cash back, I get to cash flow this thing and move into a bigger and better house. I think it's a big win. But no matter how you spin it, this has been a great deal and a great investment. And it just goes to show that if you can hold real estate for the long haul, you're gonna always win. Prices are always gonna go up over time, regardless of if the market goes like this. And as long as it cash flows, you got nothing to worry about. So you wanna learn more about real estate investing and how I buy deals just like this one, you can go to futureflipper.com. We've trained thousands of students, go check it out, and make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.